Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us over your lunch hour today for another one of our West webinars. My name is Lola Adigogan, and I am West's Marketing and Admin Assistant. It is March Marketing Madness, and today we have Kevin Hayes, Director of Strategic Business Innovation at the Phoenix Group. He'll be speaking on a business magnet web presence. If you have any questions for Kevin as we go through the presentation, please feel free to submit them in the Q&A box, not the regular chat box. However, do feel free to use the regular chat box to introduce yourself and tell us a bit about your business. And as always, this webinar is being recorded and will be available for on-demand viewing. You'll receive an email tomorrow around this time with a link to the recording. With that, I'll pass it over to you, Kevin, to now begin the presentation.
Right on. Thanks for that. And thanks for having me. I'm always excited to speak to entrepreneurs about digital activity. Our web presence is often our first entry into a brand for our customers. And so it's really important we get these things right. So let me share my screen here. So I'm going to take you through a lot of things today about a website and about your digital web presence. And there's also going to be some digital marketing pieces applied into this. So I'm really hoping that by the end of this presentation, you have some real tangible things that you can do and take away and apply to your own business. First, though, this is me. This is actually when I first started in the digital business. I was in, I think this is grade 7, and I was actually working in a computer store and my dad's computer shop, paying family rates for labor. So that was interesting. And this is where I first started learning about the internet and digital marketing and computers. I'm not to be confused though with this Kevin Hayes, who, unlike me, is a hockey player, and also unlike me when I was 7, does not have a hockey haircut. However, I get confused with this Kevin online all the time. As you can see, my Instagram name is actually Kevin Hayes. And so people are tagging me all the time in their Instagram pictures, saying how much they love me and my hockey abilities. Clearly, I'm not Kevin Hayes there, but it certainly makes me feel popular and loved on a regular basis. I am, however, the Director of Strategic Business Innovation at the Phoenix Group. And what that means is that I work with various brands on their digital strategies and their web presence and all aspects of it. So websites to paid media, to search engine optimization, email marketing, you name it. There's not much of a digital marketing that I haven't touched. However, the reason I have all these brands up on the screen is for really an important point. Whether you are Tourism Saskatchewan and you're looking to entice people to come to Saskatchewan for vacation from Alberta or Manitoba or down from Texas to come up here and do some fishing, or you're the Saskatchewan Rough Riders and you're trying to get people excited about the football season, or you're trying to sell merch, or you're trying to sell tickets, or you're a night archer and you're trying to sell insurance, whatever the case is, people have a very similar journey when they use websites and use digital presence to make their decisions on where they're going to go for vacation, or where they're going to get their mortgage from, or what beer to drink on the weekend. So a lot of the principles are the same regardless of what industry that you're in. So I'm going to open up the Q&A for a second here and ask, does anybody know why we even need a website these days? Can you get along without a website? You can put it in the chat. I highly doubt in this group of A-type people that we don't have opinions on why we need a website. All right. So websites give us credibility. Yeah. To find more information about your company. Yep. It's where everyone goes first, for sure. Promotion, absolutely. Google is a verb, right on. Yeah. It's noticeable by your absence. That's a good one. You can sell it through your website, online booking, right? So it's really a critical part of your your customer's decision-making process. And for all the reasons you've all noted, you tell your story, you can build trust. It represents your brand. It's a way that people actually contact you. But we have to understand where a website really plays in our consumer's journey. So here's a little bit of a tongue-in-cheek, but also actually true B2B buyer's journey that came from CEB. And essentially, this is really identifying the madness that people go through and to make buying decisions. This is the B2B journey, but this is not much different from a business to consumer journey. And we have a lot of what I would consider interesting parts, around problem identification. How many of us have found a problem, then done research online, then been overwhelmed, and then just circle back to the problem? And you do that loop about 8,000 times before you're like, okay, I think I can find some solutions, and then so on. And then I can find, in this case, requirements to build the solution, and then find a supplier. So it's important to note that even though the journey may be sporadic and crazy and it's not linear, there are certain points that people reach in the buying cycle. If we look at a more consumer-focused brand or industry like automobiles, this is a bit of research delivered by Google showing that when somebody's looking for a vehicle, they'll do 139 Google searches, 14 YouTube videos. They'll look at 89 images, 69 dealer interactions, 186 manufacturer interactions. If you're a car dealer here or you have a used car lot, how do you ever figure out how your website can be useful to somebody looking for a vehicle? And where do you insert yourself here? This seems overwhelming and it seems a little bit crazy. But the reality is that people do still, through all this madness of trying to find business, they do eventually narrow down what they're looking for, and they do eventually follow a similar type of process. So in the auto buying industry, people will start with 14 brands, then they narrow it down to 6, and then they decide on 2, and then there's even more steps within that. So we just have to understand how our users are using our website and our digital properties so we can intercept them at the best possible times. I'm sure a lot of you have seen this before, which is just a basic sales funnel, awareness, interest, decision, and action. And when looking at how to make your website most useful, you'll want to start to match parts of your website to these various parts of the funnel. So awareness is, I need an accountant, and where do I find one? Should I buy an accountant? Should I do my small business taxes on my own? Or should I hire somebody to do that? Should I go to KPMG? Should I go to H&R Block? There's all these pieces when a small business, as an example, is trying to find solutions. Then there's interest. Then they make a decision, and then they make action. So somebody asking, do I need to hire an accountant versus, okay, I need one, and how do I get a hold of one, are two different things. And your website has to address both of those things. There's another model out there called the Mckinsey loyalty loop. And this is a little bit different and also quite the same, but it also talks about the loyalty loop. So after somebody purchases your product, then how do we make sure we keep them in a retention play and keep them engaged in an ongoing dialogue with our business to make sure that they come back to us when they have business needs. So another piece to think about on your website is how do we keep our customer retention? So this sounds like a lot, but it's cool. We can handle this pretty easily. There's a few things that every user wants, or customer or prospect wants. They want to know that you're trustworthy. They want to feel safe by your brand. They want to know that you can solve their problem. They want to find what they're looking for, and they want to take control of the experience. And so that means they want to do the investigation on their own. And more, we're finding users want to take the power of buying your product or service. They want to not talk to you. They want to do the research. They want to read reviews. They want to be the one that's driving that experience. So we have to make sure we give them the tools to do that. So here's the 3 things we're going to learn today, or I'm going to show you today. How do we find out what our customers want? How do we make website content that is useful for our customers, and then what the actual, some of the technical structures of a good website. And this comes from my experience and lots of reading and lots of winning and boatloads of failing and all that stuff that goes into wisdom building and learning. Okay, so let's talk about what customers want, or how do we figure out what people want? So putting ourselves in our customer's shoes is obviously the best way to figure out what our customers want. That's a really easy, in theory, practice, or it's really easy to understand in theory, but it's very difficult in practice. And I've worked with a lot of brands, global brands and local brands, and it is, we all get lost and we think we know what our customers want, and we all get lost in our own brand. So one place I like to turn to figure out what customers want is Google, because people ask Google questions they would not ask their friends or their quote unquote Facebook friends. And that's for numerous reasons. One is honesty. Sometimes you have a difficult time getting honesty out of your friends because they don't want to talk about another friend or another business that they know personally. Embarrassment. Maybe you're going through bankruptcy and you don't want to post, hey, does anybody know any good bankruptcy lawyers? Or privacy issues also pertain to that. And then ease of use. Sometimes you don't know what you're looking for, and that is a perfect opportunity to help your customer, but it's not really great to ask your friends a question when you don't really know what the question is. So Google satisfies a lot of these things. And so one of the first places I like to go to figure out what people are doing is answerthepublic.com. And so answerthepublic.com is a site that will give you insight into the autofill searches in Google. So when you start typing a question into Google and you know how it autofills, or there's a drop-down menu of questions people ask, this gathers that information. So in this particular piece, I put in car insurance, and out of that, it has a lot of interrogative questions and some verbs, and kind of actually mixes a whole bunch of things in there. I put in car insurance, and it pulls up things like what people are searching around. Why is car insurance why car insurance is so expensive? By the way, I'm just taking these questions right out of this, so I did not grammar or wordsmith any of them. Why car insurance go up? Why car insurance premium increase? Where can I get, or where to get car insurance quotes, where to buy car insurance, and so on and so forth. So if I'm looking to have content on my website and I have customers asking questions about my business, and if my business was car insurance, I'd want to know the questions they're asking so I can be a source to answer those questions. So this is a great place to start to get some insight into what are people looking for on the internet. There's also a plugin for Google Chrome called Keywords Everywhere. And much like Answer the Public, it shows you what people are searching for. And this is a free tool. All the tools I'll talk about today don't have cost requirements, or they're freemium models, which means you can pay for them, but a lot of them are free. So if I do best car insurance Alberta, if I have this Keywords Everywhere extension installed in my Google Chrome, that will also show me what people are searching for. And the value here is that you can actually see where people, not only what they're searching for, but where they're going to find answers. So as an example, on the right-hand side, you see best car insurance Alberta Reddit. I don't know if anybody is familiar with Reddit or not. I'm pretty sure it's a lot of people's investment strategy at this point. But Reddit is basically just a forum where people have discussions about anything you could ever possibly think of. Anyway, so what I can see people doing here is there's discussions on Reddit about car forums. And so I'd want to go in there and see what people are talking about and maybe be a part of the conversation. Of course, you can see things like average car insurance, Alberta 2020. So people are looking at rates, people are looking for calculators. And so this, again, at a high level, is starting to give you some insight into what people are looking for. And the value of your website is not to talk about what you do, although that is part of it, but is to be a resource for your customers, because that's how you build trust. The last thing I'll show you here about trying to understand our users is ubersuggest.com. And I'll share these, I think these slides will go out after. So, and the recording will be available too. So ubersuggest.com is also a free tool. And oh, sorry, question, keywords everywhere was the last tool. Answerthepublic.com. So this, sorry, I'm answering a question in the Q&A. The question was, what was the tool with the answer.com in it? So ubersuggest.com will give you an idea about content that is popular. So if I, from my last two slides, found that one question that is really popular is, why is car insurance so expensive? I come into Ubersuggest here and I put that question in Ubersuggest, and then it pulls up a bunch of content. And in addition to these articles, so these are articles that list online, you can see on the right-hand side their shareability or their shareability in Facebook. So that's maybe an indication of how popular the content is. Certainly not the only one, but it may be that it's good consumer-friendly information. And then you can go in and start seeing what other people are talking about, how they're positioning insurance to their particular audience. So all of this starts to give a little bit of shape to who the audience could be, what the audience is searching for, and how you can help them buy your product or service. In this particular case, we're talking about car insurance. And that leads down to developing a persona or an avatar. And I'm sure a lot of you may have already done this or may have done something like this. This is really creating some type of person that your audience is for. Now, in some cases, you can pick 3 audiences. I've seen brands have as many as 10 or 12 personas or avatars. But really what the point is here is to create a target audience that you're trying to go after. And this is a bit of your guiding star on what the content of your website looks like. So for example, if you have, if you are Nike, you obviously have a different type of persona than if you are Whole Foods, and the types of messaging and maybe the tone of what you're saying on your website is a bit different. So this is really just a filter to help you run through all your content of your website through to make sure that it's on target with your particular audience. So in this case, we have Zachary, who's an autonomous explorer, and his background is essentially he wants to make decisions on his own. So he wants all the information. He doesn't really want to talk to anybody. And he might have questions throughout the insurance buying process, but he prefers to find the answer himself. This is very different than somebody else who might want hand-holding. So when I'm looking at my website, I want to make sure that all my information is geared towards Zach and helping him make the decisions on his own. I don't want to hide too much. I don't want to have to make him pick up the phone and call me. Don't want to make him to have to fill out the forms. I want to give him as much information as possible. So this, again, the persona is really there to help you to understand how you can be of best service to your customer. And if you want to build personas, there's numerous ways you can do this. I assume most of your business, most of you know who your target audience is in some degree. So there's a few different ways you can build personas. One is talk to your customers. But if you don't have any, or you don't have a lot, then take your best bet. Build your, who is your best client and who do you want and what do they look like? How do they act? At Phoenix, as an example, it's our best customer, our best client are people that use us as an arm of their marketing department, and they really let us into their business so we can help integrate into their business. You can create surveys, you can talk to a sales team. There's lots of different ways you can create these personas. I've worked with large brands who didn't really have the resources to do a bunch of surveys because it was expensive for them. So we just took a guess and we brought in their best salespeople and said, tell us about your best customer. I've also included a link here on tools on how to create a persona. So this, if you're unclear on this, this link here will help you deliver or will help you build a persona. All right, everybody's with me so far? We're all cool? Everyone's still awake? It's really hard. I'm going to assume everybody is nodding their head and going, wow, this is amazing. All right. So next, let's talk about, we've taken a look at what people are doing on the internet. We've figured out what they're looking for, what they're searching for. We've built now a persona, and those two things, you can build a persona first and then go out to the internet. I prefer to go out without any lens on and see what people are doing. Now let's look at building website content. So if I were to focus a website on anything, these are the two things I would focus on: building trust and educating. And this goes across if you're Subway, if you're an accountant, if you're trying to sell Boeing jets, if you're a political party, this spans every industry. And if you can make people feel smarter and feel educated about whatever your product or service is, that automatically builds trust. And I've been a part of managing social media accounts for large brands before, and the content that always does best is the stuff that makes people look and feel smart and makes people feel educated. So these are the two areas, if I were to focus on anything with any website, that I would focus on. There's lots of other types of content that are also really useful, but here's a starting point. Within these two brackets, there are 5 pieces that are generally most consumers' problems: price, versus and comparison, problems, reviews, and best in class. And let me show you what that means. So price, it's an education piece, and users want to find the price of how much is your thing going to cost. So a couple of objections I get all the time around price are this. One is that, well, if we tell our price, our competitors are going to know it. True, but Mercedes and BMW both know the price, each other's price. Ford and GM, they both know each other's price. And there's a good chance your competitors are going to know your price. But even if that's not the case, the other objection I get is, well, our product is really complicated. We don't have a, it costs X dollars for this. One of our clients is an insurance client they're an ag insurance client, and their pricing is completely based off the performance of the company, which can be anything. So the point is that as complicated or difficult as it may be, people want to know how much things are going to cost. They're going to want to know if they can afford you. They're going to want to know if they can actually, how to budget this into their financials. So even if you can't directly give a price, talk about range of price, talk about here are the things that go into price. Insurance is an easy one because here are the things that make your price go up, and here's the things that make your price go down. On average, 38-year-old males last year paid X amount of dollars for truck insurance, but yours could be up or down. This really, what we don't want to have happen is have people go elsewhere to find a price and go to a Reddit forum and have somebody totally off the point around how much your product costs. Versus and comparisons. This is really important, and this is actually a really fun way to do content. So how do you compare to others in your space? How does your product compare to others in the space? What's the difference between a KPMG accounting firm and a bookkeeper and an actual accountant that's not KPMG or Deloitte or something like that? What are all the differences? What are the advantages? When aren't you a good fit for somebody? That's a great way to screen out clients that you don't want. When are you a good fit for somebody? The problem, what is the problem you're trying to solve? What is the deeper problem you're trying to solve? I think we all know that, Amazon, one of their problems they solve is that they get me my stuff like tomorrow. And so that's cool. They have zero, it's been my experience, they go above and beyond to take returns quickly and pay you back your money quickly. And so they solve a lot more problems than just selling stuff. Reviews is a huge trust builder and a big influencer when it comes to people having trust in your organization. So what do others say about you? And then a best in class. Why are you the best option? Why is the Toyota Corolla best option in its class? Why is the Toyota Tacoma a best option in its class? So wherever you compete, why are you the best option? So that's all cool. Sounds good. I think it does. But I want to show you what this actually looks like in real life. Whoop. I do in one more second. Here's a slide that will help you kind of orientate what kind of content you could do at the various stages of the sales funnel. So I'll leave this with you. I won't go through this in too much detail, but you can review it in the slides. And if you're just like, how do I build trust? How do I do a comparison? Well, you could do things like videos or interviews or a white paper or a report or an ebook or live demos. Like there are just a lot of ways you could do it. And depending on your particular style, because I know being an entrepreneur myself, I know what I'm good at and what I'm not good at. And there's a lot in this list that I'm not good at. And there's some in this list that I'm really good at. Let's go to a real live example though of what this all looks like. Oh. This is Riverpool Spas and they sell fiberglass pools. So the question they get a lot is should I buy fiberglass, a concrete pool, or a vinyl liner? So they have a piece of content here that talks about all three of those and when they're a good fit, when they aren't a good fit. And this is a guide to help people buy. This is also a guide to help filter out people who aren't a good fit. So let me show you what this looks like. So they've got a video here where the gentleman goes and he talks about the differences between a fiberglass pool, a concrete pool, and a vinyl liner pool. Then he has this comparison chart. Now, yeah, it's weighted to fiberglass for sure, but there are some realistic things here, right? Down at the bottom, if you want a customizable shape and size, fiberglass isn't the thing for you, and actually concrete is the thing for you. So as much as this is weighted, this is also helps people understand the difference between all three. They talk about fiberglass pool advantages. They talk about the cost of owning a pool for so long. They talk about fiberglass pool disadvantages. It's got a higher initial cost and it's not customizable. Like you get, this is what we serve. And if you don't like it, then I guess you'll go elsewhere. And then they'll talk about concrete pool advantages and concrete pool disadvantages. Yeah, the disadvantages list is much longer, but the point is they're actually providing some useful information to their customer to make buying decisions. And this is how you become a resource. This is how your website becomes a resource for people. And this is how you intercept people in all stages of the buying cycle. So somebody reading this might be at the very top of that sales funnel and they may be in the awareness of, should we get a pool? I don't know. Well, should we get concrete or should we get fiberglass? I don't know. They go online. Should I get concrete or fiberglass? Boom, this comes up. They're still far away from the buying decision, but they have content here that helps people buy the product. So you can see it's a little lengthy, but tons of useful information if you are in the business of buying a fiberglass pool. So you don't have to have $1 million budget and you don't have to hire Steven Spielberg to come in and make videos and movies for you to have an amazing experience for your customer. You just really have to answer their questions and help them buy the product, even if the product isn't even yours. Okay, so we're going to go into good website structure. So this next piece is going to talk about the technical layout, or technical is a strong word, the layout of your website. And there are certain things on websites that just help people do business with you. It's interesting how little tolerance we all have for a bad website experience. And if we can't find contact information, if we can't find the content that we're looking for, if we can't find the answers to the questions we have, we are out, because there's about 1,000 more places that'll give us the information we're looking for. So it's really critical that we provide an experience that helps people buy from us. And the devil is in the details, and there's many devils on the internet. So let me show you what I mean. First of all, on your website, do you have a clear value proposition? Is it clear what you do? This is from a website called usertesting.com, and usertesting.com provides real-time feedback from real customers wherever you work. And so if you have a product like this woman on the right here, she is testing out packaging from a makeup company. And so she's got some pretty interesting feedback. You can actually go watch yourself on that. edx.org. I'm sure you're all familiar with edx.org. They partner with universities and deliver learning content for a fraction of the price. And so their value proposition, restless learners change the world. And so they're really playing on the, just the edge of being cool learning is cool. But you can see a whole bunch of things that tell you exactly what this site is about. They've got 3,000 courses, over 500,000 people are learning on EDX today, and then they've got a bunch of trust statements. So it's really clear what they do here. And it is a common mistake for people to put statements on the front of their web page that resonate with the brand personally, but make no sense to customers all around. Uber, get in the driver's seat and get paid. Visually, you can see a communication here of a woman who's a little bit older, but she's all COVID friendly up with the mask and gloves on, and get in the driver's seat and get paid. It's a pretty clear proposition for, most people know what Uber is, but lots of people may not know how to make a living off Uber. And if we go down to a local brand, a fitness trainer, more energy, better thinking, nutritional coaching on your terms. You can see here that her target market, Katrina Lee, is executives, male and females, who are feeling sluggish and feel like they're losing cognitive skills because they're tired all the time. And then they don't have time to coach. And so again, more energy, better thinking, nutritional coaching on your terms. This is all plain English, nothing jargony, that a lot of us can come up with. So point number one, make sure it's clear what your website is. Point number two, clear calls to action. If you're in a business and you want to generate phone calls, this is a little bit of an old school tactic, but it still is super relevant today. The data supports it. Is you want to have your big call to action in the top right-hand corner. That means your phone number is in the top right-hand corner and the get a quote button is in the top right-hand corner. And then you want the main action, or our call to action, sorry, is get a quote, whatever your call to action might be, could be different. We have our call to action as well, get a quote button throughout the website and contrasting against other colors. So we want to make it really, really easy for somebody to do business with us. You might think, and I also hear this all the time, well, we don't want to put the phone number up there because it doesn't look that good. Like, obviously you would go to the contact us page if you wanted to find our phone number, which is true, for sure you would. But that's an extra click. And what if your page loads slow? And what if somebody is emotionally excited about your brand? The last thing you want them to do is having to take more activity to find out how to call you. So we've noticed that when we put calls to action like this brightly on sites, we can increase the amount of activity these buttons are used by quite a lot. Allstate, I really liked their get a quote in a blink of an eye. It's all about getting quick insurance quotes. So that's one of their value propositions. You can see their call to action is in the bottom right-hand corner in the red. The flow of this is quite interesting because you have to select actually what you want to quote for. So they put their call to action, yes, in the top left-hand corner, but also in the bottom right-hand corner. And then Wix.com, you can see, create a website you're proud of. Big blue, get started. So whatever your piece is, whether it's read this content, download this thing, look how we compare to other people, or call us. Whatever the thing you want somebody to do is, just make the wording simple, the wording easy, and the calls to action clear and visible. This is my favorite one. I mean, I work for a creative agency, Phoenix Group, and we do tons of amazing stuff and tons of beautiful creative and designs and such. And then Google, they don't feel the need for any other activity other than search. Excuse me for 1 second. Oh, just checking in on the questions here. Okay. You want to be telling, and when it comes to that, a clear proposition. So this is an example of an agency called Conversion XL, or now they're called CXL. You really understand what you do. And so I think sometimes we can substitute imagery in place of copy, website copy, text on the page. And this to me is really clear and crisp. Become great at marketing. Okay, how does that happen? Get the world's top practitioners as your instructors. Okay, and CXL brings you training essentially. And then they have a testimonial underneath it. And so we don't have to get lost in complicated jargon. We can just be really succinct and clear in what we do. And I think it's really important that you have enough words on your website, A, so that Google understands what your website's about, but B, so that people don't have to figure it out. And so Pete Lejean here is been doing this for quite a long time, and he's really fine-tuned. The simple messaging really works well. Other pieces that work really well. On-page forms. So we have noticed, and I've noticed, I've put on-page forms onto websites, onto multiple different pages. And the second these forms get placed on pages that are right beside content, they get used almost immediately. So if you're using a website builder from Wix to some big custom application, and you want to generate leads, I would be putting forms in a lot of places on your site. Obviously, don't overdo it, but one form per page and one short form per page. It's nice to have a lot of information, but the more fields you have on a form significantly decrease the chances somebody will fill it out. So name and email and message, or just email and message, or name, phone, email, and message as it is here. All of them are good. You'll have to find out what works best for your business. This is a big question, is online chats. Should we use online chat? And so I've got quite a bit of experience with this. First of all, I have yet to come across anybody who's said, hey, I went on the site and I used their automated online chat and it was perfect. Great experience, loved it, wasn't frustrated at all. So I'm personally not a giant fan of the automated online chat, only because the automated online chat addresses everybody who comes to your site. And so if the small thing that the automated chat doesn't match the big giant needs of all the different people coming to your site, it's not going to be a great brand experience. So you can use automated chat in something like on your service page. That might be a good use. Your service page only, or an FAQ page only, but I wouldn't recommend using it site-wide. So that's automated chat. There's also live chat. Live chat is awesome. If you can staff a live chat box, that will pay a boatload of dividends. The trick there is that you actually have to staff it. And there's lots of ways. You don't have to be tied to your desk. You can, if you have a small company and a staff of only a few people, you can have one or two people, man the live chat, and then turn the live chat on when they're at their desk, and then it turns off when they're not at their desk. So, it can be fairly adaptable for you. But if you're looking to generate leads and you have the ability to staff an online chat, it can be quite a thing. And a lot of them aren't that expensive either. And you can actually get free ones and such. So something to think about, but if you can't commit to it, don't do it. FAQs. So you might have seen when you've searched Google, the people also ask part. Those essentially are FAQs that are pulled from people's sites. These are really good ways to answer questions for people. So if we look at Shopify's FAQ, these are real human questions, real customer questions, I should say. The simple Q&A people have: how much does Shopify cost? Can I use my own domain name? Do I need a designer? What is it? How does it work? You know, these real simple, down-to-earth, logical questions that can help take somebody who's like, I don't know if I should get Shopify. Oh, this is how it works. Okay, I'll give it a shot. You can also see they link to various parts of their website as well to help, just to always be helping people answer questions. So an FAQ section is a really important part to a site. Trust builders, these do a surprisingly good job of helping people build confidence in your brand. So of course, Google reviews are really important. And I would encourage you, to be proactive in getting Google reviews. There's a lot of benefits to it and a lot of benefits to Google. And we won't get into that here, but I would encourage you to just send out emails and ask people to review you on Google. That's terrifying to a lot of people if you've had one or two really bad clients who don't like you. But generally these things pay off big time. You know, things like warranties, or on the right-hand side, one of our insurance clients, Global Agri Solutions, they boast who backs their insurance, because some of their customers were like, well, can you really afford to pay me out X amount of dollars? And so they say, oh yeah, we can. Here are all of our insurers, our reinsurers are what they're called. You can see, I'm sure you've all seen Google AdWords certified agencies and HubSpot certified partners. So whatever you have to build that trust to say, hey, yeah, we are the real deal, goes a long way. And lastly, in the last few minutes, I'm going to take you through what this actually looks like for brands online, to show you how it looks in the wild, and to show you that even though we'll be looking at Shopify and H&R Block, you don't need $1 million budget or $100,000 budget or a $20,000 budget to do this. So I want to give you show you how this can work. So we can see Shopify. I assume everybody can see my browser right now. You can see Shopify on the screen. Can I get a heck yes? All right. No one was biting on the heck. Got it. We are a polite bunch. So you can see here, their big call to action is start free trial, and you can see it in the top right-hand corner. This site isn't overly designed. It's got that blocky, square and rectangle look to it. What they want you to do is sign up for a free trial. So that is the first thing they ask you to do. Anyone, anywhere can start a business. All right, cool. You can see, again, not overly designed. It's pretty, we've got 3 colors happening here, and, screenshots of other sites, and they're showing, hey, look, check out our food and drink. Oh, you want to sell jewelry? Oh, we can do that. Oh, beauty and cosmetics. Oh, are you into home and garden? Yeah, no problem. We can do all of that. They try to educate you on, here's how you do it. Just, start an online business or move your business online. Just switch to Shopify, hire an expert. And so you can see, simple images, simple text, simple language. And it really is all about, not overwhelming people. If I click into one of these links here, again, they're talking about all the, this gets into a little bit more about marketing your business, but again, fairly simple design. They talk about how you can attract audiences. A lot of people are interested in blogs and SEO tools. And as you can see in the top right-hand corner, that start free trial does not disappear, because that is the thing they want you to do. You can see they've got, here's their trust builder, their testify piece here. You can promote campaigns and so on and so forth. So this is how you could use you could build this site look essentially in like Wix or Squarespace or WordPress or, in any place like that. Let's see, anything else here I want to show you. See their trust builders here. They've got a testimonial story and a quote here. They've got a bunch of brands they work with. So, hey, look, other people use us, okay, right? I don't know if I'll date myself, but it's the kind of nobody got fired for hiring IBM back in the day is what they'd say. Well, we hired IBM. I know it all went to heck, but we hired IBM. You got to trust IBM. And that's kind of the thing that they're trying to do here. Last thing I'll say about this site here is down at the bottom of the page. So if you have done websites before, you may have heard things like you want all your calls to action on the top of the page, but we've also noticed that things right above the bottom of the page. So this green part here is called the footer. Anything directly above the footer gets a lot of action. So if you have some important message, like theirs is start free trial, you'll want to put that right above the footer as well. H&R Block. Again, super simple site. The tax season is complicated. Our experts are here to help. Do you want to file with an expert or file yourself? Real simple, couple of options. Although they talk about themselves a little bit, this is really all about the customer. Where do you want to file taxes? In an office? Drop it off? You want a remote tax expert? Or do you just want to do it yourself? What do you want? It's all cool. Get started. Oh, you want to see what your refund looks like? Just plop in some numbers here and we'll calculate it for you. Oh, you want to learn how COVID affects your family? Do you want to look at the latest, how to calculate CERB payments? Like it's all about the user and super simple, super clean. This is not a complicated site at all. Of course, when you get into it, they've got a login thing and they've got calculators and it does get a little bit more complicated. But the spirit here is this is something you could do today and build today yourself. And again, calls to action, clear, simple communication message, and it's all about the user. And then lastly, this is a site that was built on Squarespace. And so again, we've got Katrina Lee Wellness. Her calls to action, her clear intro statement, her calls to action, download a meal planning kit or talk to Katrina. She talks about what she does. Talks about how her planning fits into your life. She's asking, hey, do business with me. Why don't you just download this meal planning kit? I'll give you some recipes. A one-stop shop. This messaging is all in alignment with her particular user. She's got her weekly plans or monthly coaching, her services, and then her call to action at the bottom, or her testimonial at the bottom. So again, we don't have to, I do believe in investing in websites and investing in certain parts of copy and design, and all those pieces are really important. But without the fundamentals, it's like having a beautifully painted car that has 4 different tires on it. It'll just run, not well. So the first important thing is stick to the fundamentals of web design or of our user experience. All right. And so this is kind of maybe a life thing, but also a customer thing. Be of value to your customers, which inevitably means less of me and more of my customer. And that is it. 10 minutes to spare. I can hear the applause. Thank you. Thank you. Please stop. No. All right. I'm just going to cruise through some questions here. So one question was, can we use our tagline as a value proposition? Potentially. It depends on what the tagline is. Typically, it might be the tagline maybe is. Sorry for a vague answer there, but it's a strong maybe. Depends what your tagline is and how relatable it is to your business. The problem sometimes with taglines is they're still not clear on the what's in it for me. And a tagline can sometimes be just attached to a brand, and you need, Nike's "just do it" is has had years of things supporting it. So taglines sometimes can be vague and not be directly obvious on the benefit to the customer. All right. Questions. Do you recommend paying more for a CMS or having someone do the updates for you? That's an interesting question. So here's my standard, here's my philosophy and my approach to that. For the last 15 or 18 years, I have built, and this is our philosophy here at Media and Phoenix Group. We want people to be able to not rely on us for website updates. That's just time and time again, I see nickel and diming, and well, we just want to update this one copy, and then it's, you know, $200, and you know, every second you turn around, it's a few $100, and that adds up. And so I really believe that you should invest in having somebody build a structurally sound website, but the power should be given to the customer to manage and update it. That also means you can't do major structural changes, and you shouldn't want to do that. You know, you probably wouldn't make structural changes to your house without a contractor, but in general, in your house, you should be able to paint on your own and, you know, change the light bulbs and, you know, move in new furniture. And the same is with your website. The customer should always have the power of their website and be less reliant on the developer. How do we educate someone about our services? So what I really like to do, and this generally 99% of the time, it works 100% of the time, is I talk to the customers and I find out, I survey them. I do have one-on-one conversations with them, and usually I do it for our customers. So it's different than the actual business owner talking to their customers. And I actually ask them, I try to figure out, how did you buy our service? What were the stumbling blocks? What didn't you know? And the customers almost always have all the information you need. And then it's up to you how to figure out how to solve their challenges. But I find the customer is the best place to start when looking about how do you educate your customers. Do I critique, or we critique / assess existing websites? Yes, we do. And in fact, I wouldn't, people who come to us to do new websites, we have to, I don't believe we can just do a new website. We have to audit and assess their current website. It's kind of like going to the doctor and the doctor just prescribing drugs without actually taking your temperature and putting his stethoscope on your chest and stuff like that. So yeah, we do that personally as a business. And I think that's just good practice moving forward for all businesses who are looking to upgrade their new website or their current website. Are there development platforms that you think are better than others? That's an excellent question. So I've sold them all, and I've built in them all. So here's what I think is important to note. So we at Phoenix Group, we own a development company called Media. Media has its own custom CMS. So we don't sell anybody else's CMS. We don't use WordPress, and we don't use Sitecore or anything else. We only sell our CMS. For the prior 5 years before, I only sold WordPress, and I actually kind of sold against custom CMSs. So I can tell you I've been on both sides of the coin. There's a couple of things. I don't, you know, obviously we'd like to say our custom CMS is the best out there, and it actually is one of the best I've worked with. I know that sounds biased, but it's true. But nonetheless, I'm not opposed to WordPress at all. And what I think is most important is maybe not the CMS, but the agency that you're going to have a relationship with. The challenge with WordPress or some of the open source out there is not the CMS, but it's the people who build on it. And there's a million WordPress developers out there, and lots of them are not like a majority, but there are a lot of really bad WordPress developers out there. So if you're working with an agency that doesn't have a good development team, then you're going to run into a problem. Code won't work, people will disappear, and you won't know how to get your website fixed. With a So WordPress is good if you go down that route, but you have to have a very solid agency. Custom solutions are often good because you never have to worry about updates. You never have to worry about things breaking. If you go with a custom solution like our Media or a Sitecore, generally all the tools like the calendar and the forms, those are all built by the custom developer. So everything works better with where something like WordPress, they might get a event calendar from some random developer, and then they might get a video player from another developer, and then they might get something else from another developer, and they try to jam it all into WordPress. So you kind of get a bride of Frankenstein in some cases. Again, that's okay if you have an agency that's strong and the developers are strong. So you can, in the long term, you can pay more for a custom CMS, but you might actually generally you'll have significantly less maintenance costs long-term because things will just function well. So there's not a black and white answer. All of them are good in the right context. How best can we connect with customers with copywriting for an about page? Interesting. So I think the question is how can we connect almost emotionally with customers through an about page? And the way that I would approach it is a couple of things, is a couple of different ways. One is that if you are the face of your business, I would have as much personality as possible. And let me give you two actually examples. So you've got a brand like Phoenix Group. We're still fairly small, but if you go to our new website, you'll see what we do. Oh, I see. So the add-on to that question is specifically, I don't want to speak at the customer and pitch my resume. Well, I think actually the About Us page is a little bit of that is the one part of your website where you do have permission to say, hey, here's me and here's how cool I am. And here's the brands I work with. Here are our causes. Here's why I'm the best fit for you. And you certainly don't want to have that me language and us, everything's about us on all the other pages, even though it kind of is. Somebody's on your website, so it is about you. But the About Us page, I think, is a way to show off your where you are, or show why beyond what the service you offer, what other characteristics make you a great business or person to do business with. And so that's where you can brag about, here's the charities or volunteer work I support. Here are the accolades that I've gotten. Here are the awards I've gotten. So I would take it like you were talking to your best friend and telling them about your day and kind of bragging about yourself a little bit. The second piece I would say is put lots of rich multimedia in there. So yes, put copy in there, but also put graphics and shoot a video of yourself talking. And so oftentimes we all know how text messages and email reads. If we're in a negative mood and somebody says hello and you're like, hello, what did that mean? And right. So the same can happen with copy, but if you have a video that shows your personality and who you are, that's really important. Graphic images of other organizations you've helped. So that is one place I would say you have permission to talk about how cool and great you are. And I wouldn't be shy to do that. I would just add in some other multimedia components to really showcase all components of your personality as a brand or person. Can you recommend a plugin for Squarespace that adds a map that users can use to find retailers? No, I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm not sure. I haven't done that for Squarespace. So sorry, I'm not sure. How frequently should you update the content of your website? That's a good question because a lot of organizations plop open a website on the internet and they think it's done, but it isn't. A website is really a live creature. So that's an intimate kind of question to the business. I would be I would be trying to stay as relevant as possible. And most organizations try to do that through blogs. So as you saw in the H&R Block example, they had a lot of COVID, CERB content. And so you could probably get away with, you definitely could get away with like twice a month, putting up some kind of blog or just information page around whatever your business is. And even if you're selling pizza, which, maybe doesn't have any seemingly modern relevance, well, how do you eat pizza and not put on the COVID-19? Like, you can find angles to insert your content. So I would say it's a really smart question to ask, how often should you update your content on your website? I would personally be looking at it monthly, whatever that looks like. Some people blog twice a week. Some people blog once a month. Some people put up new content pages per quarter to satisfy whatever the buying cycle is of the customer. So, I guess the spirit is don't leave it stale. And I think that's what you're asking for. So good question. All right, that was cool. Well, I mean, it was for me. So I hope it was for you too.
Yeah. It was. Thank you so much for your presentation. It was very, very engaging, and we had lots of positive feedback already. And thank you for all of you who took time from your days to come and listen into this webinar. And just let you know, our marketing series will continue for the rest of March. So next week, Wednesday, we have another presentation by Tara about branding. So registration is now open, and if you're interested, you may go and register. And yeah, thank you again so much, Kevin, for volunteering your time. I will now end the webinar. Have a great afternoon, everyone.